Good morning, fans, and thanks for the download. In today's episode, we talk to my friend Martin, aka Junior, about his pick Green Room, starring Sir Patrick Stewart and Anton Yelchin. Our first horror thriller ever. I also want to take this opportunity to start a new quick segment on GMP where I give a shout out to a business or passion of your choosing. Our first shout out is The Other Craft Shop. You can find them on Facebook. I'll share a link in the description. They are a custom artwork and craft shop specializing in, but not limited to, seasonal ornaments. I have a few of them, and I can tell you the artwork is next level. And the customer service is amazing too. Local artist Nina Mika will work with you to deliver a one of a kind item that you can be proud of. If any of you would like your business of passion shared on the show, just drop me a line and I'll be happy to support and share. And now, on with the show. Did you watch the movie?
Yeah, I've watched it. I've watched it a couple times.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if you'd seen it yet or not.
Oh no, yeah, I seen it. Like I watched it. I showed it to Mike like last year, sometime. But then I watched it again two times
So,
recently.
what made you pick this movie?
I don't know. Like for me, um, in movies, uh, I like for one the movie's not super long. I mean, it's an hour and a half, which is like pretty normal. But it's also pretty gruesome because I like gory movies, but also I don't like movies that don't have a happy ending. So it seems like the movie is gonna like not end well, but then it's just like it's everything gets vindicated at the end. Like what you want to happen as far as to the bad people happens. I feel so. It's
Yeah,
like
so the movie is 95 minutes exactly. So you're right, it's an hour and a half. Um, and definitely has some gory parts. I I've seen gorier
oh for sure.
for sure. Um, but this is the first horror movie that we're going to be doing for the podcast. I'd classify it as a horror movie. I mean, it's not your
Yeah, I would
stereotypical.
say like a thriller slasher kind of maybe.
Yeah, exactly. It's not your Michael Myers or your Freddy Krueger, but it's definitely got some gory scenes. It's meant to be suspense type horror, I think. So this was written and directed by Jeremy Saulnier. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. This is really the only movie that he is credited with directing. I think he's got a total of four movies, I think, but two of them are low budget, pre Hollywood. The other big name one, well, the other semi big name one is Blue Ruin, which he also wrote and directed. So it was surprising to me that for his first kind of Hollywood debut, he was able to get some pretty big names in this movie.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was thinking too about it as far as like I guess the main character and then the dude from Star Trek,
Yeah, so
Sir.
Sir Patrick Stewart in the movie, he plays the kind of head of this neo-Nazi group. And then the main character is played by Anton Yelchin. I'm probably not pronouncing that right either, but he's a Star Trek fame, probably best known for Terminator Salvation. He was also in Fright Night, which is one of my personal favorites, and Hearts in Atlantis, another one of my personal favorites with Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah, that dude's dead now. Yeah,
He is dead, which is insane. R.I.P. Yeah, the last movie to be released before his death, which he died on June 19th, 2016, and this movie went to wide release on April of 2016.
yeah, it was nuts, dude. Like, well, it's just weird seeing in a movie where he's like the last one of the last people alive, and then after all that, and then like IRL actually passes. It's pretty crazy, and he died like by like a goofy accident too. It's pretty
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah.
nuts. And I thought he was a very good actor too. I mean, he was in Star Trek was probably the big market he was in currently at the time of his passing. But Fright Night, the remake, is one of my favorite movies. I just think it was done really, really well.
I'll say I like Friday Night too, like the newer one. I thought it was done really well versus like the original one. My grandma used to make me watch the original Friday Night all the time.
Nice. Right before bed.
Yeah, always.
So they're the main female lead is an actress by the name of Imogen Potts or Poots. She was in 28 Weeks Later. She was also in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, Need for Speed, and she was in V for Vendetta, which is my, if not favorite movie, then at least top three. She plays the young Valerie in that movie. But she's not really a well-known actress. The only other movies she's really been in, the ones that I mentioned, they're very minor roles.
Plays a pretty goofy character in this movie too.
Yeah, when you first see her in the background, I thought it was just going to be kind of another background actor, and then she becomes quite a lead in this movie.
Yeah, and she's like like I don't know. It's like almost as she's like all like she's obviously something happened to her. She talks about the reason why she's even there in the first place. Says something happened to her, and it just so like she said I'll just say they weren't white. The people that did something to her. So she is who she is. So I mean, like I guess, but like it feels like she's like just gone so far past it to where she's like no longer empathetic anymore. She's just kind of like weird.
Yeah. So that brings up a good point with regards to the plot. So Anton Yelchin. I'm gonna butcher that name this whole podcast. He plays a character named Pat. Pat, Sam, Reese, and Tiger are four members of a grunge band, yelling type grunge band, and they don't go much into the backstory of them prior to where the movie picks up, but you get the sense that they are traveling and doing some sort of kind of mock tour. They're not very famous. They're doing this out of their van, but they wind up in a city where they are doing an interview for a local radio station. And the punk guy, Mohawk, who's interviewing them, has promised them this big gig that he's put together. Unfortunately, prior to the events of the movie, he gets some sort of license revoked and he can't put the gig on. So he puts him in like a diner. There's like singing in a diner, which is crazy to all these old people who could care less about the music they're singing. And this is apparently the last stop. They're on their way home. They don't have the gas money to get back. They actually have to siphon gas, which is, I liked the opening of the movie is them in their van in the middle of a cornfield. They must either, you get the impression they've fallen asleep at the wheel and wound up in the middle of a cornfield. But anyway, the radio host feels bad that the gig fell through, and he says, "You know what? Let me call my uncle or my cousin."
Yeah, his cousin. Yeah,
his cousin. Yeah, let me call my cousin and see if I can get you a gig. So he does that, and he comes back to them and he says, "I got you a gig. It's actually going to pay halfway decent, enough for you guys to get home at least." One small minor detail. It's for a bunch of skinheads and neo-Nazis. I mean, I guess, they got to listen to music too. So the band goes to this kind of warehouse, I guess.
I guess it's supposed to be off the beaten path, kind of like a farm, like you would say, like a farm that has a warehouse on it, because it seems like a kind of like a residence that they stay at.
Yeah, exactly. It's set up as kind of a nightclub-esque. It's got a bar and a stage and everything, but it's meant to be this kind of hangout for these neo-Nazis. And they show up, and surprisingly, all the people they interact with that assumably work for this location are pretty nice. I mean, they're pretty straightforward.
Yeah, really professional, yeah.
Yeah, set up in the green room. Another band's gonna go on before you. We'll come get you. Do you have your own stuff, or do you want to use ours, and so on and so forth.
Which is pretty legit. Because I was in a band a bunch, like for a while, like a few years, and when we were like going around to like go play places and stuff, it happens exactly like that. I have no idea. I took guitar lessons for about 6 months, and that's the extent of my music career. Like your all the sound is all new. So like whenever they're setting up, and he's like a little more guitar here, and he's like testing and stuff like that. And when he says meow, like it's legit. Like singers really do. Like my singer used to like scream like make like girl sounds. And so I mean like so it was just kind of like nostalgic to see that part.
Yeah. So they're in the green room. They interact with another pretty well-known actor. He's one of these kind of actors that everybody has seen, but you probably couldn't name him. His name's Eric Elderstein. He's in Jurassic World, Hills of Eyes, and a ton of sketch comedy shows using like Key and Peele and stuff like that. Um, Big, tall guy, just big guy. And he plays kind of the bouncer or the security, if you will. So they're in the green room with this guy, and they get called out on stage, and this is where you kind of see the audience, and it's full of neo-Nazis, stereotypical bomber jackets, big leather black boots and shit like that.
The writing's on the wall too, everywhere, like
Oh
SS,
yeah,
like white idea, like all over everything. Yeah.
yeah. Between the stickers and the writing, it's very evident that they are in a Nazi white supremacist type location. They're watching the audience as they're performing, specifically our lead character Pat, and there's obviously some shady stuff going on in the audience. There's some handoffs. You're assuming some sort of drug deal or something. But I mean, I kind of chalked that up as I was watching it to like, what do you expect? Not just with the clientele, but you're in a club. I mean, you probably see that shit all the time when you're performing.
Yeah, and it doesn't really say like, I mean, like the kids aren't straight edge because like, which is like a scene, and straight edge is basically like they're kind of a hardcore. You'd expect kind of that music from them, but they don't do drugs, they don't have sex, they don't drink. But clearly, the night before they all drank, so like it was kind of like it's not that he should be too surprised. I don't think
Right.
either.
So they perform. They go back to the green room, get their stuff together. The guys like loading up their instruments and stuff, and the one girl says, "Oh, I forgot my phone," and Pat says, "Oh, I'll go back and get it for you," and he walks back into the green room where there is. So this is where I kind of the other people that are in the green room, the big bald guy that's kind of just grunts. Is that another band?
No, so like I don't know if like you like figured out that portion of it, but those are just so I guess red laces, like some other people who are like in
Okay.
it, and like you see like the in the beginning the note that she hands him or they have, and did you see with like the flesh wolf thing?
Mm-hmm.
So like that was there her and then the guy Danny, his cousin, that guy's cousin, they were in a plot to leave to escape the whole thing. So and they
Ah,
were gonna leave at that song was gonna be their cue for her to meet him outside, and that's why it was full of all the stuff to leave. But
gotcha.
that's where that guy I guess confronted her about it because he's like one of like a like a higher up or like somebody who would I guess prevent somebody from leaving. He was trying to find out like who it was and stuff, and then that's whenever she killed. Probably because she didn't speak about
Yeah,
who it was that was leaving, and that's why he probably killed her.
yeah. I missed the whole reason why the event took place. But anyway, so he goes back in to get the phone and the phone charger and kind of walks in on this scene where a few neo Nazis are standing over a dead body, which has a knife, pocket knife type weapon protruding from her skull. So it's not like, oh, she's sleeping or she passed out drunk. It's very evident that she has been stabbed and is dead. And then the other girl, yeah, I'm Imogen Poots is in the room, and he kind of oh shit, I didn't see anything, but it's good, and like they freak out. All hell breaks loose at this point, where the other band members are forced back into the green room. Some of the neo Nazis leave to go kind of rally the troops, and they're basically told, "You're not going to leave." Or actually, I take that back. He actually calls the cops. He attempts to
Yeah,
call the police at that point from his cell phone. But the neo Nazis intervene. They get the phone from him, and they talk to the police officer. They say, yes, somebody's been stabbed. Please come here. And essentially appeasing Pat that yes, the cops have been made aware of this and they're on their way. Just hang tight here while we get this whole thing straightened out. So they're kind of cool with it at this point. Obviously some shady shit has happened, but it looks like we're on the right path to get it rectified.
yeah, because he says they're like you can't keep us here, and he's like we're not keeping you here, you're just staying. That's what he
Right.
said.
Yeah. Which that's a really good line.
Yeah,
I don't know how I would feel about somebody saying that to me, but it was a nice kind of subtle way of saying it's not completely, you're not completely being forced, but for the right now, you're just gonna stay put.
It's like the whole thing up until they like let it loose on them is like done to kind of appease them and
Yeah,
make them feel that they have either some kind of control or that there's like some kind of light at the end of the tunnel.
yeah. So I mean, their phones are taken away, um, but it's done kind of in the scuffle, so it's not like a confrontation of like "give me your phones." But the main guy who assumably is running this thing, goes out, makes some phone calls, and goes to two just run of the mill neo-Nazi guys and says, "Okay, which one of you is going to do this?" The guy's like, "I'll take care of it," and he proceeds to stab the other person in like the stomach or the chest area. And
Twice,
this happens moments before the cops pull up, and this is where I thought this was phenomenal. This whole scene is done really well because you get the idea when he's talking to the cops on the phone of like, yeah, somebody did get stabbed. Please, send some law enforcement. You're like, well, how is this going to play out? They like have a gun shootout with the cops or something like that, and no, they just stab one of them. So when the cops show up, we can say, yeah, look, there's a student here. Here's what happened. The accident. Everybody agrees, and the cops go away, and that's it. Takes care of the phone call.
because that's how committed those guys are, like to
Yeah,
the cause.
yeah. I thought it was really a good plot device to get out of the corner they presumably painted themselves in. So, some time passes. The four band members, along with this other female, are locked in this room. The only person guarding the door is Eric, this monstrous man who has a very large weapon with him, a large firearm, handgun.
And even kind of like cartoony big.
Yeah, it's insane. It's like a big bull.
I was looking at it, I was like, that almost looks like a flash gun. Like it was huge.
Yeah, he even makes the comment to them, it doesn't hold 6 bullets, it holds 5 because the cartridges are so big. But he tells them like, don't rush me or I will kill you. I will shoot you. This is when Patrick Stewart shows up. Now, Sir Patrick Stewart, because he has been knighted by the Queen of England, best known for Star Trek, but has been probably even very closely well known for X-Men in this generation. Mind-boggling that he's in this movie. I have never seen him do a role like this. He plays the head of a neo-Nazi. He does a phenomenal job. I mean, he's a great actor, of course. That's why he is who he is. But to see the range on this guy, so he shows up, he owns the property and also leads the neo-Nazis. And he takes over. He goes outside the green room. He talks to Pat through the door and basically says, listen, we want to solve this. We want to fix this. We want everybody to be at ease. He tells Eric, hand them the revolver. And Eric's, are you sure? Yes. Hand him the revolver. Make him feel comfortable. So he does that. And he says, just come on out. We can solve this whole thing. Because at this point, the door is locked. And they say, how about this? We're going to, we want a phone. You give us a phone, we'll give you the gun. And this kind of whole thing happens. There is some confrontation between Eric and the group where the group kind of gets him, one of the guys in the group gets him in like an arm bar. But essentially it's this turn of the tables where they now have the gun and they feel a little more at ease with what's going on, although they're still, held against their will. So Patrick Stewart convinces him to hand the gun out in exchange for a phone. At this point, prior to the conversation through the door, he has called the Red Laces. He tells the other guy who was in charge until he showed up, get the Red Laces here. The Red Laces are a real thing in Nazi skinhead culture. It's literally people who have red laces in their shoes, and it's supposed to signify that they have shed blood for the cause. But in this movie, it's kind of more symbolic of the ones that will do whatever they are told to do, regardless of how gruesome it is. They'll keep their mouth shut and they'll take care of the situation.
This is this is also a pivotal point in the show or in the movie because of who they pick to go get the guys with the red laces. It's Danny, which is the guy with the red jacket, who happens to be the dead girl's boyfriend, who was going to be leaving in the first place. And then even before that, I don't know if you noticed, but Patrick, I don't forget his name, but the guy who runs the whole thing, he gets mad at the door guy because initially what he says when they're going to get the kids to stab each other, he says that you should basically you should have just let him get caught. Like you should have just allowed the cops to come and like basically find them because that guy would have been to jail. And now instead of that guy, the guy who stabbed that girl, now all of them are at risk of being caught because of the cover up.
Right.
Basically. And so that was just the other thing is that now her boyfriend's involved, and that's where they go to send him to go find the red laces, and he picks the guys who aren't high.
So that explains something later on in the movie, which we'll get to, that I did not fully understand. I missed that for some reason. The whole scene where he walks in on what happened, I must have missed that because I didn't get the connection with the boyfriend until later when he comes back. But again, we'll get to that. So Patrick Stewart has this conversation through the door with Pat, hand over the phone. They come to the agreement. I'll give you the phone, you give me the gun, and he has the Nazi girl who's in the room with him. We're just going to call her Imo because that's the abbreviation of her name. Imo looks through the bottom of the door. It's one of those doors that has kind of like that mesh at the bottom.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So she looks through the door and she sees Patrick Stewart standing in front of the door. So she signals to Anton or Pat, go ahead, it's just him. So he unlocks the door and he sticks his hand out with the gun. And as he's opening the door and she can her point of view changes a little bit, she can see not only 2 more pairs of shoes, but 2 more pairs of shoes with red laces. And that's when she freaks out. No, it's a trap, It's too late. He has some sort of struggle, which you can't see, which I love. I love this device here. He has a very big struggle through the door. His hand is sticking through the door. But you can't see any of that. All you see is him kind of trying to get his hand back, freaking out. He eventually gets his hand back in the door, but he has taken 3 or 4 shots with a machete to the arm. I mean, this is the first big grotesque scene in the movie, and it's pretty grotesque. I mean, his wrist is hanging on by probably about 1/4 of his wrist is still connected. Interesting enough, Jeremy Saulnier, who wrote and directed it, said that when he was called out about all the violence in the movie, he said that to him, violence in movies is like full frontal gore. You have to see everything in order to really appreciate it with the plot. So he definitely doesn't hold back in this movie.
There's a lot of that in the movie too, just like within the plot itself, is just them talking about wounds and how people die, and because there's so much planning into it. So just later on with like how they use the dogs and how they only try to use knives and things like that, time of death and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. There's a scene where they're talking about the dead girl, and one of the characters says there's not really a whole lot of blood. And the guy walks over and yanks the knife out of her skull, and of course, blood starts pouring out. And he's like,
"Yeah, that's the first blood you see in the movie."
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So he gets back in the room. They have a box cutter, but they put a couch in front of the door, and essentially are satisfied that they're going to be holding off the Nazis, or at least with the couch and the box cutter and stuff. For whatever reason. And there's a few major turns in the movie that to me take this movie from great to good. And this is one of them. The fact that the Nazis don't just kind of run up in the door, guns a-blazing, and solve the problem right here is beyond my understanding. But they don't.
For me, the reason why they can't do that is because their whole thing, because whenever they go through the van initially, and then that's why he starts talking about like the no trespassing signs, getting them out and getting the dogs, is because there's a specific way he wants to be able to kill them, and that's like basically with the knives, and that's why they can't shoot them. That's why it's so imperative that they can't shoot them, because he wants them to find them like as if they've been trespassing and only having dog wounds, like bites and stuff on them. So
That's true, because I mean you got to figure at this point a lot of people have seen them perform, so they know that they were there, and they're gonna wind up just going missing. You know, this is gonna be the last place they're gonna look. So I guess that kind of makes sense. If you find their bodies and they're riddled with bullets, there's gonna be more questions asked.
Yeah, and then also if they start like getting wounded, or their own people like accidentally die in the midst of it, then there's just added bodies besides, added stories, and or what's the word,
Investigation.
whatever, yeah, like whatever it is, whenever you try to like say you're somewhere when they're
Alibi.
Alibis. Yeah, that's it.
So they incapacitate Big Eric. They break his arm, and then he gets cut at some point, like he gets stabbed or throat cut or something. He's otherwise out of commission. And while they're searching for a way out of this room, because there's only the one door, I mean, they're like banging on the wall, but it's concrete. They're looking for like vents, but there are none. They do come across this kind of wood paneling on a section of the floor, which once they break through, they find an entire underground bunker that's filled with drugs. Not just drugs, but like drug paraphernalia, ingredients. It's a lab. It's a lab to produce heroin, I think.
Mm-hmm.
This lab has a second exit, but it's blocked off, or it's locked. It's like a stairway up. You assume it's underground, and there's a stairway up to the ground, but it must be padlocked or something. So that's not going to help them. So while this is all happening and they're trying to investigate a way out, the skinheads are outside the facility, and at this point there's probably 5 or so of them, and they have a couple dogs. And for the next about 20 minutes of the movie, there's 2 or 3 attempts for this band to leave the green room, leave the building, and they're stopped either by the dogs at first, which they ends up getting one of the band members, eats his throat out. But they managed to stop the dogs with some feedback with the microphones and the stage equipment. There's a great scene, and this is where the boyfriend comes back. He is sent in to kind of, tangle with the band members in the green room. But when he gets there, he tells them, "Yeah, I'm here to help you." And then this is kind of without knowing the front part. I must have missed the front part. I'm like, why is this guy suddenly helping them? I couldn't figure out why he was doing that. So he comes in, he attempts to help them, gets them out of the green room and over to the bar, and he's explaining to them, "This is what we're going to do to get out of here." And all of a sudden, his head explodes because he's shot by a couple of other skinheads coming in. So that was an interesting scene. I wasn't expecting him to die so quickly.
Yeah, because he's like talking, because what he's doing is he's looking, because whenever the one guy gets shot or gets chewed up by the dog, he looks over and sees a shotgun under the bar. So whenever he's outside, Patrick, or I forget his name, but the leader guy,
Mm-hmm.
he looks over at the bartender and goes, "What did we forget?" And so he actually gets shot by the gun he was looking for by the bartender. And then the bartender gets slashed open with with the machete or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's also where you discover another plot, because so the leader was mad at the guy because he got all of them involved. But then when he checks the trunk of the guy who was trying to escape with the girl, he actually finds a murder weapon that he was going to use, I guess, as blackmail to keep them from bothering him or something. So that's why he kisses the guy in the head. Instead of being mad at him, he's happy. He's like, "Because you actually saved us all." So it's like there's like plot after other things that's happening in the movie.
Yeah, it's layers. It's like an onion. It's like an ogre.
Yeah.
So basically, one by one, the band members die through these attempts to get out of the building. And it winds up just being our main guy, Anton, and then the skinhead girl, Imo. The 2 of them are the only ones left alive. Pat still has like half his arm hanging off, but they duct taped it, essentially duct taped it together as bandages, and he's got a jacket on. So he can't use his arm, but it winds up not really being a major issue for him. This is the point in the movie where, again, I feel like it goes from great to good. These Nazi skinheads, two of them have perished, but you still have 4 or 5 outside the building. Patrick Stewart at this point takes 2 of them, young ones, presumably new to the group, and says, "You two are going to be the ones that are going to go in there and finish this off, and the rest of us are going to go have a couple beers, or go get the van ready for setting up the stage of how this whole thing happened." Which kills me because at this point they're winning. They've managed to execute 3 out of the 5 people that they're trying to kill, but they ease up, and by easing up, they send these 2 guys into the green room. They go into the green room, and Imo and Pat have had enough, and they have decided they're going to fight back. So they stage this whole thing where he goes down into the bunker area, and Imo hides in the sofa in the green room. And one of the guys goes down to the bunker to look for him, while the other one's like kind of sitting up on top of the ledge. She climbs out of the sofa, slices his throat from behind, and the 2 of them take out the other guy. So now they've overpowered the 2 skinheads that were left, and they are pretty much able to walk right out the front door. And you're assuming they're going to get away. This is it. They're going to leave the building. They're going to run to the police station, and the end of the movie. But instead,
my most annoying part in the movie happens in the underground scene whenever he's trying to reload the shotgun to kill the other guy, and the girl walks up behind them, and she uses 2 bullets. How important are the bullets at this point in time where you're counting them, you need all the bullets you can, and she shoots the guy 1 time in the neck and then 1 time directly in the head. And if you have nothing impeding you from shooting somebody and point blank killing them, why waste the bullet? Because it comes into a later effect too, where that bothers me. Why that comes in, but you can go ahead.
So you're 100% right. There's the other thing that bothers me about this scene is the Pat, who's down in the bunker, is hiding behind a wall, and the one skinhead hops down, somehow loses the shotgun. I forgot how that happens, but he doesn't have any weapons at all. He also has his back to Pat because he's looking at the girl up above. And Pat, rather than grab any one of the 100 things around him, including glass jugs that he could just easily bash this guy over the head with, decides to pick up the shotgun and tries with one hand to reload it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like chemicals. There's got to be like acid and stuff around there because you can see some of those like stuff, like some of those like dark brown bottles that are there. They have to have something bad in it, Even if you throw coke, like heroin in somebody's face, like something. Even that, like,
I just couldn't believe when I saw it. The skinhead turns around, the camera pans over to Pat on the ground trying to load the shotgun with one hand, and I'm like, "What are you doing? Just hit him with a jug or like punch him. Who knows?" Anyway, so they get out, and rather than go to the police, they kind of walk through the forest. Oh, so they do manage to get the one main guy, not Patrick Stewart, but the other guy who was in charge prior to Patrick Stewart showing up. Yeah, they get him, and they have him lead them through the woods to the house where the other 2 or 3 skinheads are there kind of setting up the van, and they let him go. They tell him to go to the police or call the cops and tell them to come over here, which I kind of lost as to why he would do that and not just go grab a gun and come back and help Patrick Stewart. But anyway, they show up, catch the neo-Nazis by surprise, and kill all 3 of them. I mean, it's a little more ceremonious than I'm making it out to be. They kill 2 of them, and they go up to Patrick Stewart, and he has this moment where he kind of like turns and walks away, and I think he attempts to like shoot himself, or he does shoot himself. But regardless,
he pulls out a gun, I think, to like try and secretly shoot them, but then he turns around to try and shoot them, and then he gets offed.
Yeah, so they kill the last 3 of the neo-Nazis, and that's pretty much the end of the movie. I don't even think you see the cops show up, but just kind of more they sit down.
Yeah, it is like he walks up to them and he goes, "We need the cops," and then it cuts away from there. So you don't know if like he's like, "We need the cops," and then like after it cuts away, he's like, "Haha," like, "No, we don't." Like, you don't even know who he walks up to, really. So it's kind of like that. Plus, like, also again, the part where because she used the extra bullet, and so at the very end, you see the dog walk up to them, and they both fire at the dog. They both shoot, and like she reloads her shotgun, and the kid shoots the pistol. at it, like just keep shooting. There's nothing there. So had she had like if that dog would have freaked out on them, they
Yeah.
both probably would have fucked like or messed up right there. At least at that point.
Could you
But
imagine
like,
after all that, that's how they die?
yeah,
So the movie ends there, kind of fade to black. They have this moment of survivors where they slump down. It's like, I get to rest finally.
plus you don't
Um,
get to find out what his desert island band is,
right,
which is
right,
he's the only one. Yeah, and she's just like tell somebody who gives a shit. Yeah,
right.
and she
Um,
never follows the rules the whole time. Like she's just like always like causing them problems and doesn't follow the rules. And like also whenever they do the desert island band, she says two people like Madonna and somebody else or whatever instead of just one. I don't know. She just kind of irritated me a lot in the movie. Just the stuff that she did, like when she like was like turned on the light, the lighter, and she was like, "Stay calm now" or whatever. It was just like so ominous. Like why was she being so weird? Like but it's
yeah,
whatever.
she's definitely a weird character. I mean, the first tip off is her hairstyle, which I can't even describe. It's like a Justin Bieber mixed with a mullet kind of
Yeah.
thing. It's just odd. She's an odd character.
From the far reaches of the galaxy to an internet location near you, we're Don'tForgetATowel.com, your daily source for geeky pop culture news, reviews, interviews, and so much more. So as you're hitchhiking your way through the universe, don't forget to travel safe, and don't forget a towel.
So I mean, overall, I liked the movie. I thought it was a good movie. Definitely worth a watch. I mean, you could pick apart any movie really, but that I think Patrick Stewart and Anton Yelchin's acting performance really makes the movie. The movie is it comes out April 15th, 2016, in wide release, but its first real premiere is at Cannon's Film Festival in May of 2015, where it doesn't win any awards, but it gets some huge recognition. It goes on to Toronto's International Film Festival in September, and then opens a limited release on April 1st, 2016, wide release April 15th, 2016. The movie itself, however, was announced by Broad Green Pictures on May of 2014. They would finance the film. Patrick Stewart said in an interview when he finished reading the script that in his country home in England, it was so terrifying to him that he locked up his house, turned on the security system, and poured himself a scotch. He then knew that he wanted to play the Darcy banker role because a character that horrifying would be an incredible challenge and make for a compelling movie. He signs on in October of 2014 to play him. Just definitely an odd casting choice, but very good. I mean, very good at casting choice.
Yeah, it's really like big picture, like the antagonist in it. It's not really just that guy. It's like the whole system of like how that works. Plus, like the band is like they don't have like any social media like presence at all. They're like that's like their thing. They're like super edgy, you know. And then like when they play the diner, actually there's one guy who's recording him with his phone, and the guy even tells him he's like cut that shit off, like because they don't want to be seen that way. Then plus like he's at the end when he talks about his desert island band, the interview is actually playing. And then like also something I didn't understand was the two guys or the guys who killed the girl in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
They gave them heroin, and it looks like they both overdosed, or like it shows like a clip of them like somebody just chilling there with like a needle in their arm. And then like another thing is too is like whenever she goes tell somebody who gives a shit about his desert island band, immediately afterwards CCR starts playing, so Clearwater Revival.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, is that his band? So like I don't know if that was like a play into that, but that's just some things I noticed.
It's a great band. Yeah, it's one of the things I like about this movie, which I think is a directorial or writing choice, is that it doesn't walk you through every plot point. I mean, a lot of movies can go into some heavy over explanation on things that you can just pick up through context clues. And what's funny enough is that's kind of Saulnier's style. He doesn't hold your hand all the way through the film. He doesn't want to explain every single element which is nice. I think that when you can see a director or a filmmaker kind of trust their audience that they're gonna get this. I don't need to hold their hand. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and it's like it's cool. Like it's like well, like for me too, because like I like being in a band at one point in time. We were like in a like kind of like a breakcore band. But yeah, you like really get into your scene. Like your music is your music, and like you feel a certain way about it, and like like you feel way about like kind of higher, better than people like like if they're not in the same scene as you. But like when it all comes down to it, you're still just like kids. So it's like whenever they did that Nazi punk song, that cover, like in front of those Nazis, like that's funny. That's them being rebellious. But then like whenever like it actually like hits the fan, like they're they start to cower and get like scared. Like Tiger, he's real soft, and then the girl's her name Reese, I think. Was she the one who was in Spy Kids? I think.
Yes. She's also in oh God, what's the name of that TV show that was on Netflix with the Blukes?
Oh, yeah, Arrested Development.
Yeah, that one.
But yeah, but you feel for them because like Tiger, like you feel bad for the guy because he doesn't want to die, obviously, and he's like super scared, and he's the first to get bit up, and then the other girl with like the extinguisher, she gets scared. And honestly, you know what I thought whenever he walked into that room and she was like looking at the vent, I thought she was hanging. Like I thought he was gonna come in and she had hung herself, but so that didn't happen, and then she ended up getting attacked by the dog anyway. And then he's like, "Damn, that sucks." Like it's one of those cases you didn't want to die, didn't want to die, and she ended up dying anyway.
Next to Anton and Patrick Stewart, she's arguably the next biggest name in the movie. So when she died, period, I was kind of shocked. I wasn't expecting her character to not make it to the end. So the movie, unfortunately, is not a success. Its budget is $5 million, box office 3.8. So it loses a little over $1 million, which is unfortunate because I've seen much worse movies go on to make much more money. I think it was probably just lack of knowing about the movie. It didn't get a whole lot of press. I don't personally remember the movie being advertised at all. Do you remember seeing anything for this?
No, I actually the only way I found it was through like YouTube once. Like a YouTube reference. I think it was like below a music video or something that I had watched, and then I was like, "Oh, what is this?" Like, and I was like, "Is this a new movie?" And I believe it was probably maybe 2017 or something when I seen it, and then it was like, "Oh, it's already been out." Like and then I was like, so maybe it was easy to find, and sure enough, I was able to find it and was able to watch it. It was one of those where you're like, "Oh, I want to see this. That's got to be good," and then I watch it and I actually really enjoy it. And it's like cool. It's a movie you can show somebody because it's not like too gory, but it's like gory enough, and then like it's over, before too long.
Yeah, it's not a constant gore. A lot of the movies that have heavy gory scenes are usually pretty gory throughout the whole movie. This movie, the scenes that do show gore or show blood, they're extensive. I mean, they're very detailed, but they're fairly quick. There's probably about a half a dozen of them, and I wouldn't say any of them last longer than 30 seconds or 45 seconds. So it's not too bad.
Yeah. But yeah, like it's not like it's just like a movie that I enjoy. It's not like where you say it's like it's not a bad movie or it's not like a great movie, but I definitely like worse movies that are bad movies. Because I actually like B-rated like gore movies, So like I thought it was really cool because whenever you're looking at the cuts and stuff, like I'm actually looking at like how they make them happen and things like that. So when the hand was like dangling and stuff, like you're like, that's pretty crazy. Like that looks nuts. It looks real. And then like with the one guy who died, he got stabbed in the back and they tried to keep him alive. That's when he was talking about the death time or whatever. The later he dies, the better. Then later on, you see him and his like face is like chewed up. It's like pretty. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean the $5 million budget must have strictly gone towards Patrick Stewart because, I mean, if you think about it, when it comes to sets, they're in the woods. The one building that they're really in,
they're mainly in one room.
Yeah, they're mainly in one room. They do a diner scene in the beginning, but that's kind of it. As far as props go, you got a couple dogs, so dog trainer, stuff like that. Machete, a couple weapons. I mean, there's not a whole lot in this movie that I'm going, okay, that's what they spent their budget on.
Oh, that's true. I didn't think about it that way, but I bet it was probably Patrick. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got a couple ongoing gags we like to do on this podcast. The first one is I've come up with 5 questions that I think pertain to just about every movie out there in Hollywood. And I like to ask everybody's opinion on these questions when it pertains to the movie that we're talking about today, Green Room. Question 1 is what aspect of the storytelling do you think were done right? And what aspects were done wrong? And who do you give credit for? The writer, director, actor, so on.
Well, yeah. So like, I like the mix of plot, like having to like dig deeper because I read a lot of books, but unfortunately, when you read books, plot theory kind of like happens like as a thing that you I watch a movie and I like already pretty much know how it's going to end, and it usually happens a lot. So one thing that kind of annoys me is just like plot convenience, and so like just seems like things just kind of happen and it just like works out that way, like so it's like, oh, now it's her boyfriend who's in there, like, oh, that's pretty convenient, and then it's like with the bullet thing, like how there's no I'm sure it was intentional, but like the waste of the bullet and then where the dog at the end, and then okay, but the dog's not actually going to kill them when this whole time it wanted to, like, but I guess it shows how trained the dogs were because they only attack on the certain word, but this just was one of those things. So I would say just probably just plot convenience, but also being able to kind of dive deeper and figure out more. But I mean, I guess that would be more so for the writer.
Yeah, the nuances in the movie, the things that don't come out and smack you in the face, but do kind of lead to the overall development of the story in your head. I agree with that. I think that was done really well. What do you think was done not so well?
Probably some of the other character, like the band characters. Like I mean, like, well, like I'm not usually for one like saying like, oh, a movie should be longer, but like I wish like there was a little bit more character development, like in like some of the characters, like because I just really feel like you don't really get to know anyone really in the band other than like kind of like they have that little small interview with them, and I guess they're like what you know about them is they're like desert band, and then the person you don't know anything about is the one you end up spending the most time with, really. So I mean, it's just that's just kind of weird. I wish could have known more about the people, the other characters, other than just like I wish you don't die.
Yeah, very well put. I mean, a good chunk of this movie, kind of right in the center, is spent this kind of in and out of the green room and picking off each person one by one. I think you could trim, 5-10 minutes off of that and elongate the beginning where you do get more character development. Because I mean, to play to your point, as these people are getting knocked off during the movie, I really don't care. I mean, I'm not invested in them, so it doesn't really bother me that they're getting killed. So, very well put. Okay, question number 2. What is the biggest unanswered question for you about the movie? And do you think it was done intentionally?
Yeah, it's the Desert Island, which is a song for him, which is like I'll never know if it's, and I feel that it is done intentional, that it's the CCR band at the end, but it's like it's just it annoys me because the girl says hers, and like she feels the need that it's okay for her to say what her desert band is, although even though she kind of like brushes them off and kind of make pokes fun at them for doing it in that situation, but then she feels it's okay for her to say it, but then afterwards when they actually have a chance to breathe and after all they've been through, she's like an asshole about it, like it's really good shit. Yeah, it's just like, it's like, wait, what? Like it's like, and then like because it's in the moment too where it's like it's over and you're like, oh, okay, like almost where like in the movie you'd be like getting ready to walk out, and then you're like, oh, he's about to get that answer, and then it's like, actually no, F you.
Okay, question number 3. Personal connection is important. Was there anything that happened in the movie that reminded you of a real life story that happened to you?
Yeah, just the band stuff. Like I've been there with like people who are like where like they're really like uptight. Like I've been in places where one time we had to go play at this bar, and we actually had to get permission slips signed because we were underage. And we went in there, and like the band that played before us was really like unaudible. Like you couldn't hear what they were saying, just like super like gory metal. And then we went up there and we were just like kids, and we had like kind of like we had breaky stuff and we were heavy, but it was like we were like played to our scene, and they were like laughing at us and like saying they were gonna like eat our like face and stuff and like trying to like intimidate us. And that band that place actually, they recorded all of their bands and sent us a DVD. God, I wish I had it. But when we got the DVD and finally watched it, we're kids, and the first like 2 minutes of it is just titties. Like they see there's it's just boobs, and it's just like, so I know that feeling of being like, oh, like we're around like adults, like
Yeah.
we have no parents around us, we drove ourselves here. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, man, I got a couple goofy band stories I could tell you at a later time, just random stuff that happened to us. Like, I mean, there was a fire once, like our band got into a fight like once, like it's just
Jesus.
a bunch of different stuff. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so question number 4. What is the most important sequence in the movie?
I would say probably the handoff at the very beginning. Like, if you don't like pay, like where the guy hands the girl, like you see Danny hand the girl the paper. Like, if you don't start to question that and pay attention to that, then you lose like the whole, like, other than they don't want, like, you lose all the other stories, other than the fact that they don't want them to go out and tell people that they murdered that girl. If you don't pay attention to that, you lose all the other plot like sides. So I would say that to me is the most pivotal part.
I think that scene, or I mean the initial machete scene where he gets his arm kind of cut, that whole kind of interaction with Patrick Stewart and the give me the gun for the cell phone type, that's a pretty pivotal point too, because I think that's where the movie really turns from, okay, this could still potentially end like nicely, to, okay, there's no way we're getting out of here alive.
And like the guy, like it seems like they're all pretty done with the tour. At least Pat, the character Pat for Anton's character, he's just like seems like he's not even enjoying himself anymore. Like, they're all like saying they're going to drink, and he's like, I'm gonna go to bed. But then like it's like, does he drink because they wrote all over his face the next day? But it's like, so then he must have drank. Otherwise, how the hell did they write on his face if he's passing out like that? So it's like, I don't get it. And
deep
it's
sleeper.
cool I actually really like that scene. Because like it's like he finds the music and it's like 1, 2, 3, and like literally it's the next day instead of you like hearing any of the song, which is pretty cool. Which is, again, it's like, what is that song? It's a lot of things. It doesn't really like fill you in all the way.
The music doesn't take as much of a forefront in this movie as you would expect it to for a movie about a band. Okay, question number 5: if you could recast 2 roles in the film, what roles would they be? Who would you recast in them and why?
I don't know. That's pretty tough for me. I would say it's pretty tough for me because other than like horrors, like, and no name peoples, like in horror movies I watch, most of the time I'm watching comedies. So like, if I change a character, it would just like change the plot into like some kind of like to like a comedy. Maybe it would be kind of cool to see like the guy from Butterfly Effect. The chunky guy who went buff, Ethan Suplee is his name.
Yeah, he's in Daredevil now.
Oh, is he?
Have you not seen Daredevil?
I've seen a little bit of it. The Daredevil, the one with the one that's on Netflix. I've seen a little bit of it.
Oh, you gotta watch it. It's amazing.
But I would switch him out with the Eric guy, the other doorman, because I think it would be cool to see him play, like, because that role is kind of a serious role, but like I feel like he's like changed now as as a person and an actor. It would be cool to see him be his buff, like kind of like big self now and play that role. And then probably for I don't know, it sounds kind of crappy, I guess, but maybe pick somebody else to play the other girl who died. The one who was the one who was in Spy Kids. Just because like I don't really like care for her as an actress or like really pay too much attention to her career. So because of the fact there was nothing given to me to like really like feel for her, or whenever she was like, actually after her death, it was like, oh, that was, you felt bad, but then you get over it really quickly. It would be like if there's anyone who had a little bit more, anybody who I was a little more connected to. If it was anybody who was more expensive, then the movie would have just lost more money, maybe.
True. I agree with you. I think I could see maybe Jennifer Lawrence. I could see Jennifer Lawrence playing a role in this movie. She could play the skinhead female who makes it to the end. Yeah. She's kind of, because that character has got to be the tomboy, tough, chick. And I think she would do a really good job. I also like Chloe Grace Moretz. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. I think she can play that role pretty well as well.
Or like the what was the girl that was in Kick-Ass?
Yeah, that's her. That's her name.
Oh, damn, that's weird. Yeah, because I was saying, she's who else came to mind. That's goofy that just happened.
Yeah, she's really good in those roles. I like that. Have you ever seen the movie Let Me In?
Mm-mm.
Oh, you should check that one out. It's a good one. It's a remake, but she plays basically the main character in that movie. It's just really well done. It's kind of a slow movie, but it's very suspenseful. So one of the other things we like to do is, obviously, you know what Rotten Tomatoes is. People can go on there, both critics and audience, and rate movies. We like to play a little game called Guess That Tomato, where you are going to guess the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes for Green Room.
So Rotten Tomatoes, is it the more tomatoes is better, or the more tomatoes is worse?
The more tomatoes is better. So it's 0 to 100. And obviously 100 is a perfect movie, and a 0 is surprisingly a lot of movies score 0. But
can I make a drinking game out of it?
Absolutely. We encourage that.
If I get it wrong, I'm going to drink a whole beer.
I love it.
So odds are pretty high. So I would say a 4.6
out of 100.
Oh, out of 100. Holy shoes. Let's say 78.
That's
is that high?
Guess. It's a pretty good guess.
Oh.
So here's the next thing I want to do. I can give you 2 hints. You pick which one you want. I can give you 3 other movies that are around the same score as this movie, or I can give you the critics' score.
Give me 3 movies.
3 movies that are within 2 points of this movie. Mm-hmm. Bad Boys for Life, Frozen 2, and the recently reviewed movie, The King of Staten Island.
You know, I actually watched that movie. I tried to watch it, and I fell asleep and woke up, and it was because I fell asleep with my tablet on my bed, and I woke up and there was an animated show playing, and I was like, whoa, this took a turn. So I don't even know how it ended. But I would say within 2 points.
Have you seen any of those movies?
I've seen Bad Boys for Life. I've watched some of Staten Island, and then Frozen 2. I haven't seen it, and I'm never going to watch it.
Oh,
but I'm sure
you're totally going to watch it.
Never. I'm sure that, and I love Disney, but like, call me old-fashioned, but I don't know, like, it's just not for me. But so my thinking is do I feel like Bad Boys for Life is a good movie? Like, do I feel like it's better? Like, am I going up in the 2 or am I going down? So my initial guess was 78.
Yep, 78 was your initial guess.
I'm gonna go 79.
Okay, interesting. The actual audience score for Green Room on Rotten Tomatoes right now, 75.
Well, isn't that?
You were close though. You're 4 points away, or 3 points with the original score. That's pretty good.
Has anybody got it?
My last guess, Matt Scruggs hit it right on the head. Now with the caveat, he did look up the score prior, but said he couldn't remember it. But coincidentally enough, he got it right on. I don't know. I'm not saying he's a liar. I'm just saying that it's a little fishy. And he does chug his beer, ladies and gentlemen. He's a man of his word.
I read the score earlier, but I totally forgot it. We believe you, Matt. What was his movie?
He picked Wind River.
I wanted to pick a horror, like a thriller of some kind. I almost went with The Green Inferno. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but
I have not. No.
It's about cannibals, and it's disgusting. It's actually like it's way worse. But so I was like, yeah, it's too much. And then like in my mind, I was like The Green Inferno, and then I was like, oh, The Green Room, like in the same kind of lane, but they're totally different, 2 different movies. Don't anybody listening, don't go watch The Green Room or The Green Inferno after watching The Green Room and expect it to be any kind of related. They're not.
Have you ever seen Green Street Hooligans?
Oh yeah.
Great movie.
Isn't there a couple of them now?
Yeah, I think so. There's the one main one. Then they came out with a sequel that I think kept one of the main characters, and then at this point they're probably like number 4 straight to DVD. You know, just same green title, but none of the same characters.
There's another movie. What's the guy's name? Is Anton? He was in another movie that I really really liked. what's his name? Anton.
I'm not sure.
The guy who was in this movie, the actor.
Anton Yelchin, Yelchin.
He was in a movie with the sleepy monster things or whatever. It was like the monster that only he could see at a time, like a period, like at certain times. And like there was some girl that he was trying to say. Odd Thomas. That's the movie.
Never seen it.
It's a thing of books. It's pretty cool. Like if you like I guess it's kind of horror, but it's basically this. There are these things that they show up when people are going to die, and they show up in like kind of mass. They look like little creepy dogs. Or if you ever watched Constantine, with
Love
like
Constantine.
like the creatures, like the demon creatures,
Mm-hmm.
they kind of like start to, like huddle around people when they're about to die, and Odd Thomas can see them, and that's basically the beginning of that. But it's worth a watch. It's cool.
I'll have to check that out. So Green Room is released widely on April 15th. It's do you know any guess on is the top movies April 15th? 2016. I'll give you a clue. The very number one movie is a Disney live movie. The live during like the whole, they did a ton of different movies recently where they did the live action. I'm sorry?
Was it Lion King?
It was not Lion King. It was Jungle Book.
Oh, I actually really enjoyed Jungle Book.
Jungle Book's a good movie, good book. The live action was pretty decent.
I just like a sucker for the guy who played King Louie, which is Bill Murray. Is that who it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just there for that. I enjoyed that. But I mean, was it my favorite? No. Do I like a lot of the live editions of Disney movies they do? Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good premise. Unfortunately, I think Disney fell into the same thing that most studios fall in, which was the first one did really well. Let's do 17 more.
Yeah, which is like was bound to happen. I thought about that at one point in my life. Was just like, I think that way because I play music too, and I think about the way about music too is like eventually we're just going to start recycling songs, and I hear that all the time in music. I'll hear like, oh, I actually know where this is from. Like this, they're using the notes or the same progression, and then that's got to happen with movies where they're just like, oh, let's just start remaking all the movies, like
Yeah.
And so like, but sometimes it's pretty cool, like whenever they redo stuff because now they have like money and like things like because like but I mean, God, I just love like what people did without money, like or with like Total Recall, like the original Total Recall. Oh my God,
great movie. Here's what bothers me about Hollywood's remakes. I like the original movie. I like it. It's good. It's got a good storyline. Stop trying to change it. Stop trying to twist the ending. Stop trying to add characters or take out scenes. If you were to give me a remake that was literally a shot-for-shot remake, but you're using today's technology, you're using today's actors, today's special effects, I'm gonna love the movie just like I love the original. I want to see a modern-day remake, shot for shot. That's what I want to see.
I just hope they never remake my favorite movie of all time,
which is
The Fifth Element.
That's your favorite movie of all time.
All time.
Great movie. Great movie. But favorite of all time is Out of Control.
She's Out of Control?
The fact that that's your favorite movie of all time is Out of Control.
Oh, I'm going to have you turn it down a little bit because that's the savior of the universe, and I won't have it.
I cannot. I get asked this a lot, especially with my passion for movies. Is what's your favorite movie? It's actually been a debate on some of the podcasts we've done over at Don't Forget a Towel. I can't answer the question because I have 20 movies that are all my favorite. It depends on the mood I'm in. It depends on the genre I want to watch. It depends on what era. I mean, there's so many things it depends on that I can't pick. I mean, there are movies that I love, that I absolutely love, that are just not good movies. And then there are movies that are phenomenal. They're shot well, they're written well, that I'm just not a big fan of. Like, I appreciate them. I know that they're good movies, but they're not on my list,
So how I answer what my favorite movie of all time is the movie I've watched the most in my life. And it's definitely The Fifth Element. I watched it way too many times. It would have to be either the Fifth Element or Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, just the title screen for the DVD. Because I used to sleep to that on repeat. I don't know if you ever lived that life.
I don't know if you can call that a movie, just the title screen.
The title screen just repeating itself, sure, ambient noise when I slept. Had to watch it a million times.
Nice.
But, yeah, that's just the way I figure my favorite movie is the one I watch the most. When they put not too long ago, they put The Fifth Element was on Netflix for a bit. I just had it playing consistently, like while I was like playing games and stuff. I just had it playing on my tablet with subtitles on.
If we're gonna go with movies that you've seen the most, then I'd have to go with either Basic or Snake Eyes. Have you seen either one of those?
I think I've seen Snake Eyes, but I don't know. We'll have to look up to see what the plot is.
So Snake Eyes is not Jack Nicholson, Nicolas Cage. This is prior to him basically going bankrupt and making every single movie they asked him to make. This is back when he was still being.
This movie is not Face Off.
It's not Face Off. Snake Eyes is right around Face Off and Con Air, and he plays a crooked cop who winds up being in, coincidentally the wrong place at the wrong time, and he witnesses a murder. But he witnesses a murder in front of a packed stadium, and the guy who pulls the trigger is killed instantly. But something doesn't feel right. He starts doing some investigating. It's very noir, very follow the clues. Just a really good movie. And then Basic is John Travolta, Samuel L. Jackson, and that's again a very noir movie about. It's actually got one of my favorite kind of plot devices in the movie. The movie starts off and you're following literally the opening scene is a group of soldiers in a helicopter flying in the middle of a tropical storm to do a training exercise. It fades to black. You see the opening, kind of the credits and who's in the movie. The next scene is the same group of soldiers. Well, two of the same soldiers. They're shooting at each other, and there's a helicopter coming in to pick them up. And the entire movie is what happened in between those two scenes. It's a really well done noir movie.
Kind of a different type of Tarantino movie.
Yeah, kind of.
Instead of just working backwards, you're figuring out between two scenes.
Yeah, but to me, Tarantino's overrated, and I've gone in so much in depth on how I think Tarantino's a bad director, but yeah, it's kind of the same idea where it's kind of chopped up. So just to round out those top 5 movies, April 15th, we got Jungle Book followed by Barbershop, the next cut. So it's the sequel to Barbershop. The fact that that's number 2 on this list is out of control. I like Barbershop. I thought it was a good movie, but it's one of those movies.
Is your like slow is like your catch. It means not good. Out of control like to me sounds like could be like cool. It's out of control here, dude. Like
out of control can mean anything. It could be good. It could be bad. It is my catch-all phrase. Yeah, but a Barbershop is one of those movies where the first one's really good and then the next 5 well they always do like 5 or 6 movies after and they're all direct to DVD, none of the same actors. It's just garbage. That's followed by The Boss, then number 4 Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, phenomenal movie, and then the 5th one to round off the top is Zootopia. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I love Zootopia.
Zootopia is a great movie.
Want that on the record. I love Zootopia.
Judy Hopps, man.
That's the one with the sloth, right?
That's the one with the sloth. Yeah, the DMV.
Absolutely love that. That was that was just everything I wanted that scene to be right there.
Well, I really appreciate you recommending this movie, man. It was a pretty good movie overall. I think I'd give it like a B plus maybe.
I'm cool with that. If you didn't like it, I wasn't going to be offended. Because it happens. Like I like for me, like because I say like I read a lot. So unfortunately for me in movies, like I try not to speak because I'm like, oh, I usually know what's about to happen. So like in this movie was one of them where things didn't happen exactly because like like where the guy walked away and was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go call the cops, and then like but when everyone got what they deserved, that's what I'm talking about in movies. Like I like that because I'm kind of like corny in that aspect. I like happy endings, like The Fourth Kind or like The Mist. I absolutely hate those movies.
The Mist has got one of the craziest endings of any movie I think I've ever seen.
Whenever I was in the movie theater and when the ending happened, I literally just got up and walked out. And someone was like, "Wait," I was like, I can't. Like, I hate to leave a movie and then like it affect my day, like in a bad way. Like
it really does. I mean, that movie definitely affects your day. No, this was a good movie. I liked it. If nothing else, it was great to see Patrick Stewart play not the cookie cutter vanilla character he usually plays, and to even worse, to play a bad guy. He does it so well. I really wish he would do that more often. It was really nice seeing that, against typecasting.
Yeah, because plus, I mean, I've cried before because of that guy.
What? We got to hear the details on this one.
Well, like I just cry in movies. Like that's kind of like a thing. Like I get emotionally attached to people, and plus I cry. So like in X-Men 3, when he got dusted, like I let loose and just died.
So I am not against crying during movies. I have been known to shed a tear or two at some emotional scenes. But of all the
Power Rangers,
movies to cry during, X-Men 3, there's only one reason why you cry during X-Men 3, and that's because you wasted your money on the ticket.
No, I feel that, but that was their dad. Like, like I'm just like I was connected to more like not just like the movie, but just like the storyline and everything like behind it. I'm more was just connected to the characters and stuff at that point. Because like I mean like, but like it's not like I didn't know him. I mean like Professor X, I knew him before he was like on before I ever seen him in a movie. You know what I mean? So it's like I was just connected to that moment. And when he got, I was like, dude, I was done.
Fox Studios took a giant shit on not only the X-Men franchise, but the Dark Phoenix saga, and then waited, a whole 5 years to take another dump on it? I can't. At least Sony, when it comes to the Spider-Man, little shit they took, they tried. They had a couple decent movies, a couple good attempts. I mean, obviously Marvel hit the ball out of the park, but with the X-Men, I can't. Deadpool, come on. Origins, the whole Origins movie. So do you know that Fox, prior to the release of Wolverine Origins, Fox had this whole thing mapped out where they were going to do origins on each character. They had actually greenlit a second X-Men Origins, Magneto, where they were going to go into his, backstory with the concentration camps and set World War II.
Enjoy Origins?
No, it was so horrible. It got such terrible reviews that Fox scrapped the whole Origins offshoot and ended up instead going with the the Blast from the Past type X-Men movies, which was again, Jesus.
Did you see they're doing a horror now?
X-Men horrors?
Yeah, the next one that's coming out is the ones with the kids in like the asylum, and they have like special gifts or whatever. I think it's called like something, I can't remember, but it's a horror film coming out they're doing for
that might have been the plan prior to Disney buying up Fox Studios. I mean, they now own the rights to not only X-Men, thank God again, but Fantastic Four as well. Marvel is so petty when it comes to, and rightfully so. Let me just start before I get emails and comments.
New Mutants is what it's called.
Yeah, so they're going to do the New Mutants franchise. But Marvel is so petty when it comes to the rights to their merchandise that when Fantastic Four, the first movie, was announced, which was a colossal crap. Marvel
actually, you know how much I love Dr. Doom.
He's one of the best villains Marvel has. So Marvel actually stopped producing the Fantastic Four comic book in order to kind of reduce the the stigma behind the name, just to keep people from going to see the movie, which, I mean, people didn't see that movie for many other reasons other than that, but regardless, I don't want to hold you up. Junior, thank you so much for watching this movie and recommending it. Thanks for talking to me about it.
I killed 3 beers doing this, so.
One more quick thing before you go. It's a firm belief by the owners of Don't Forget a Towel that everybody geeks out on something. It might not be comic books or movies. It could be woodworking and football, but who knows? Everybody geeks out on something. So we ask everybody at the end of all of our podcasts, Junior, what is it you're geeking out on right now?
I geek out on new music. I'm kind of a piece of crap when it comes to music taste. So like I listen to I'm consistently always trying to listen to new music. So like the least amount of people that know the music, the better. And I like to show people new music. So that's just kind of my thing.
Well, now's your chance. You have the stage. Any new bands that you would recommend that we haven't heard of?
Yeah, I actually have this guy. who is, I think, is probably about to blow up if he hasn't blown up already. When I was listening to him the first time, he had under 1,200 likes, and now he's at, last I checked, he was at 50,000. So it's just coming. His name is Jack Kays. The song is called Morbid Mind. It's kind of like a pop punk kind of esque, kind of like sad Beach Boy type music, whatever. But Jack Kays, Morbid Mind. It's really like it's kind of chanty. Check it out if you like that kind of music.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. We really appreciate you giving us that insight, and thanks again.
Hey, no worries, man. I appreciate it. See you later, dude.
What's your craziest like gig story?
Oh, dude. I guess would probably be one of our. We were supposed to be playing a show, and one of my friends, his name is Nathan. He was the guitarist, and we're setting up for the show at a place we play all the time. So I mean, they trust us, and it got to the point to where they were giving us we weren't getting paid all the time. We were kids, and then they got to the point to where they were writing when people came in. They would ask you who you're here to see, and you'd put a tally by the band that you came to see. And for every tally, you got $1 of the person's door cost. And it got to the point where we were getting like $30, $40 anytime we played a show, which is enough for us to have an adult buy us beer, and then us drink afterward. And my friend Nathan was like nowhere to be found, and we couldn't find him. And like he had, and lo and behold, he was the whole time he was in somebody else's car. He had made a homemade pill and had snorted some cocaine and was just like totally just done, like in the back of this car.
Jesus.
So he couldn't wake up. We couldn't grab him, and we had an old guitarist who just like showed up to see the show, and we were like, "Hey man, like, could you play like the old set like with us?" And he was like, "I mean, I guess so." So like he hopped up and played the thing, and then at the end of it, like our friend Nathan like walks in, and he's like, like chilling. He's like, "What's he doing up there?" And he was like, "The show's over, dude. Like, I don't know where you've been. Like, we've already played the whole show," which is pretty crazy.
Jesus.